Governor Monday Okpebholo of Edo State addressed several critical issues in an interview following the killing of northern travelers in the mob attack in Uromi. He condemned the incident as an act of criminality that undermines his administration's security efforts, emphasizing that Edo has no place for jungle justice. He confirmed the arrest of 14 suspects and assured further action without compromising ongoing investigations. Okpebholo highlighted his administration's security initiatives, including reorganizing the state security corps, equipping them with modern tools, and passing laws to tackle kidnapping and cultism, which he claims have significantly reduced. Beyond security, he discussed infrastructure improvements, particularly roads, noting that Edo was previously isolated due to poor conditions. His government has initiated repairs in federal roads like the Benin Auchi Expressway, reducing travel time and accidents, and is constructing flyovers such as the Ramat flyover to boost the economy. On education, he criticized the neglect of schools like Ebomisi Secondary and pledged reforms, including a significant funding increase for Ambrose Ali University to restore its prestige. Economically, Okpebholo aims to support traders with interest-free loans to stimulate growth. In healthcare, he criticized the previous administration's superficial upgrades to facilities like Stella Obasanjo Hospital and promised substantial improvements. Lastly, he outlined plans to revolutionize agriculture through mechanized farming, increased budgets, and land clearing, aiming to enhance food production across Edo's senatorial district. While throughout they emphasized practical governance and collaboration with federal and state leaders to deliver on his promises. All right, Mr. Kingsley Pepple. I want to believe that you are quite familiar with the issues as regards to Edo State, the killing of the state hunters who were traveling from Port Harcourt to Kano State for the Salah celebration and all of that, and then they were, found to have in their possession, guns and all of that, and then they were, said to be, they thought they were, those. Kidnappers, Fulani headsmen who were causing havoc in Edo State. But from what it's been found out now, they were hunters. No, so I want to be sure that you're familiar with the stories.
Yes, the story
and from what the governor has just said now, Okpebholo, I want to get your reactions as regards to that.
Okay, first and foremost, I want to say thank you to the swift intervention by Governor Okpebholo. He treated the matter as it is supposed to be treated without looking, back and forth.
All right.
Yes, those people were actually traveling, they are hunters, yes. Even though we say we have a lot of incidents around us where we have a headsman trying to do one funny thing or the other, it would have been good for them to have handed over these people to the police if they had suspected anything. I don't know if you understand me.
Right.
That would have been better. They would have handed over these people to the police. But in this case, they didn't do that. Instead of doing so, all they did was to take law into their hands. And that's very bad. In the first place, what they tried to do is to spoil the government of Okpebholo, because if that man didn't come out to say, look, this thing that they did was bad in any case, people would have been looking at it like this is what Edo people used to do.
All right.
I mean, it will spoil the government of the day, but thank God for the man who understood the whole thing and quickly went into action to condemn the incident. And of course, I heard he has also traveled to the north to pay a visit to the bereaved family. That's a very good one if you ask me.
Okay, well, I also want to ask you, because before this killing, these mob actions by those people, there were issues of insecurity in Edo State. But all through that time, until when this action was taken, this heinous action was taken, the governor had not said anything as regards to that. And all of a sudden, when this happens, he now comes up to speak. What would you also make of that?
You see, we discussed this thing sometime here, talking about this insecurity in Edo State, and I was clear on my words when I said it's a general thing, you know, not just in Nigeria but everywhere.
Okay.
So you see, you don't just say there is insecurity just in Edo State alone, and then you shout it out and people say, oh, that's so. No. Of course, we saw what just happened. Now, the people they even killed are not people who are terrorizing the place, but their actions, if it was not thoroughly looked into, people will just believe that, okay, we've been saying there is insecurity in Edo State, this is what we are talking about, you know. So insecurity is a general thing, but of course, you look at it from what has happened. If they were careful enough to interrogate these people and find out that they were hunters, and then, okay, even though you suspected them to be terrorists or people who are causing insecurity here and there, why don't you take it to the appropriate, you know, quarters where they will be properly investigated, and then they face the wrath of the law instead of taking it into your hands?
Okay, again, I want to ask you, were there any form of identification from these individuals who are traveling from Port Harcourt to Kano State that identifies them as hunters? Because if they were hunters, you know, in their numbers, and they had possession of guns, were there with license, you know, permitting them to go about with their guns? Were there any form of any identification to show that, well, they are hunters, or, you know, hunters association and all of that, considering the fact that you are traveling from a very far distance, you know, it's a long distance journey, let me put it that way, and that we have security checkpoints in all over the places, most especially in the south, since they were coming from Port Harcourt to Kano.
Okay, that's one good point you've made, and if you ask me, it's one mistake that was made, because I know if you are a hunter, you should have a permit to even enter the forest of anybody's terrain to go and hunt. Because I know there should be restriction, you know, to people who are hunting in certain areas. For you to enter the forest and say you're hunting, I mean, you should get permits, a hunting permit from the owners of that terrain. When I mean owners, I mean the government of that terrain to enter into the forest. And if you don't have that, you don't have any need to enter into that place, because you're carrying arms, you're carrying the firearms. Somebody may equally mistake you to be a killer, or even we're seeing them as Fulani headsmen, though it's not only Fulani headsmen that carry guns inside the bush in any case. So you may be seen as a killer, as a ritualist, as an armed robber, as anything bad in any case. So like you pointed out, it would have been better for them to have had the an authority paper showing that they are hunters, because I believe that they didn't have such thing on them. That's why those people, you know, could easily, you know, do such mayhem on them or carry out such mayhem.
All right. Again, we've seen the distance these individuals traveled, as they claimed they were coming from Port Harcourt, and then we had checkpoints. And that part, what happens to security agencies? But they're not aware that these individuals had, you know, firearms in their vehicle, in their truck.
You know, you wouldn't blame that on security people.
Okay.
The reason I'm saying so is this:
I mean, it's their job to
check.
It's
their job
that's why they're being stationed at that place. To check thoroughly of whatever you have in your possession.
That you see gun on somebody does not mean that the person has taken gun, you know, illegally or unlawfully.
Without a license? That's
what I'm saying. You were not there, I was not there.
Yes.
Possibly they have cleared them. Perhaps there were explanations and there were one or two reasons that would have prompted that, okay, these people are carrying licensed guns, or they are supposed to carry these guns, and then they may have permitted. But I'm not there to say that, look, this is what actually happened in any case. But I'm saying that that's what should have been done in any case, that they do a check-in on all of these vehicles. And if they find out that these things are legal enough, they you know, may probably say, okay, go your way.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? But if on the other side, like you said, they didn't check, you know, that's another lapse on their own side. But even at that, it's not in the hands of the vigilante groups to have done what they did.
Quite true.
Yes,
they're not supposed to take laws into their hands, right?
Yes.
Again, the question is, because could there be any reason that is substantiated enough, you know, to supersede the facts that they need a license to carry firearms?
Well, you know, Nigeria is Nigeria.
Okay, let's not put it the Nigerian way.
Yes.
Let's make it in a democratic
yes,
way, because we are operating in a
yes,
democratic
that's
system.
that's what I'm saying. It's possible police people may have seen it.
All right.
It's also possible that they must have or somehow hidden it in such a way that the police didn't see it.
Okay.
That's why I say, you know, the Nigerian
I'm
thing.
still wondering how, okay,
it's possible. People move weapons here and there. You understand? That's why the security will tell you that security is not just the policeman thing or Navy or Army man thing. Everybody's involved in it. If I see you carrying firearms and you're, you know, actually hiding it, and then I make contact with the police officer or the police station, they will follow you up. For instance, there was this video I watched on somebody who tried to traffic drugs from another country to another country. Do you know that inside the boot, I mean the sole of the boot, there were drugs inside of it. The sole of the boot that ordinarily shouldn't be opened, but they were all opened. There were drugs inside of it and were properly sealed. So you see, that kind of thing could come from, that kind of discovery, you know, could come from a very high. When I say very high, I mean people who are really into this business of knowing that, look, people could hide such a thing inside of that place. Otherwise, it's difficult to identify that there is something inside of that place. So, Nigeria, we do not have much of this technology to dictate all of these things on this our road. So, there is possibility that they may have beat the police checkpoint. And on the other side, you can't take it away. Maybe, just maybe, they may have tipped these police people because, you know, a lot of things happen. Their own is they're interested in taking peanuts. Once they take their 100 naira, 200 naira, go your way. And you don't want to find out what is inside, you know, their boots.
Oh, well. Let's also take a look at what triggers these individuals to commit this heinous crime. Because you cannot look just one side. There's two sides of the coin, right?
Okay.
So let's take a look at this other side that triggers them. We know we had issues of insecurity in Edo State, right? What has the governor done in that part of the insecurity that was ravaging Edo State before this incident happened? Because when you look deeply, you realize that what triggers these individuals is because of what was going on in Edo State. And it felt like, okay, these people were parts of the people who were causing havoc, mayhem in Edo State. And that's why they likely might have taken that action. Now, the question is, what has the governor done in regards to that? I mean, this didn't just happen in a day. It has happened several days, and that we do not hear the governor say anything as regards to that. What would you make of this as well?
Okay, well, for me, it's a really bad one, you know, for him not to have, you know, looked into the matter. Because like you said, of course, it's even out of frustration that those people may have done what they did, even though we say it is not right for them to have done that. But I also believe that it may have been out of frustration. So on this, I want to say that the governor didn't come quite in time, not even on time. He didn't come quite in time to, you know, intervene in the security issues, and that possibly is the reason that this thing lingered and transpired into what we are seeing today. Had it been the governor had intervened, all this while they've been shouting insecurity here and there, you know, perhaps people see what he has been doing practically to cushion all of this effect. I think that these people may not also have taken this law into their hands, because they should know that their governor is on top of this whole issue matter. Yes, that's the way I'm looking at it.
So at some point you're saying maybe they feel frustrated that probably they were not getting, you know, results from the governor to, you know, to be able to curtail that, so they had to take actions themselves to protect themselves or whatever it is. Well, it's left for the courts to decide. And I'm still wondering what sort of, because 14 of them, you know, like you say, they'll face the full wrath of the law.
Of course.
Well, I don't know what awaits them, but fingers crossed, in anticipation, let's see what the courts would have to say as regards to that. But then again, still with all of this that just happened, the governor from his statement didn't mention anything as regards to the insecurity. We heard of infrastructure in terms of the, infrastructure. We heard of a health sector, the economy, and other sectors. Aside from this insecurity that is currently ravaging the Edo State, the governor didn't mention anything as regards to that. Again, what would you make of this governor's statement?
You see, insecurity problem in Nigeria, we have to be careful on how we discuss it.
Okay.
The reason I said so is that even in the streets where we live, we have challenges of insecurity, and what we call this insecurity, they are rather when people are molesting others, you know, doing those harsh things that you don't want anybody to do to you, you know, taking advantage of maybe you are the superman in the area, or you have guns, or you are licensed to do and undo. And these things we are talking about, we see them virtually every here and there in our streets. Okay, so possibly the governor didn't see it the way they saw it. And it could also be a politically motivated talk, you know, trying to talk down on his government. So, but he didn't see it like that, and perhaps that's why he didn't also feel like there is something, you know, to be done. And so maybe he's relaxed.